people. We stay busy. We have the same goals, at least very similar goals. We get to work together every day, which is a blessing and a curse. And we have a lot of different businesses because I have ADD.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think that pretty much describes half of the maker community. So here's how I met you. Like, I first met you guys online, and then I was lucky enough to meet you in person. But you had the Pine Barren house, your pallet house, right? And what I think is really exciting and interesting, I don't want to focus on the negative, obviously, because there's a lot of good things that have come from that. But if you could tell everybody what happened, give us that snapshot so then we can go into that second part.
Yeah, so the pallet house was like a glorified shed that we built during COVID. We had it all up to code. Everything was going to be permitted once the township opened back up, but it burnt down before we had the chance to really make it what it was. We had a grand opening and a soft opening, so it was like two nice big parties. People were able to come out and check it out. But it was all recycled material. We built, I would say, 95% of it out of recycled materials. A lot of it out of massive pallets from a company that was down the street from us. And it was really a place where people can come and not only shop, but they can also pick up their custom orders in a more professional manner. It was also a place where we could like store those orders rather than in our tiny 1.5 car garage.
So, and I know, you know, a lot of the story, and I know Carlina sold a lot of your stuff on Facebook. So having them have that nice place to come and visit was important. And, you know, it burned down, right? And I can only imagine, thankfully, how terrible that must have been walking out and seeing that.
Yeah, it was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I didn't realize, like, we have fires all the time, like bonfires. I didn't realize how loud a fire could get. It sounded like a jet engine going over the house. Like, that's how loud it was. It was terrifying.
Yeah, it actually woke my mom up at like 2 a.m. out of a dead sleep. And when we walked outside, I mean, it was just engulfed already.
So that's crazy to me. Like, I've never been that close to a house fire, so I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right. Were any of your tools saved? Did you have anything that didn't get destroyed?
I think we only had a set of drills in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was mostly just a place to store our products and our finished products.
Yeah, it was like a little storefront. We actually, so it had like all of our art in it and like finished products and stuff in it. And then we had a 8-foot table in there that the customer was coming to pick up that weekend. So that went with it and everything. So we had to redo that one.
Yeah, we actually finished that night.
So, and I was curious about that. I know that that had happened, and I meant to ask if you redid the table and how were they about it?
Yeah,
we remade it. They were so sweet about it. Everything, like, they're still one of our customers. They come to the store now. Their kids are so sweet.
Oh, that's nice.
They always talk about it and tell people, they're like, oh, this is the second table they made for us.
Yeah.
That's funny. So all right. So you got that place. All right, because not everybody knows it. I'm going to ask you again. The problem is I know so much about you guys from talking to you and everything. Tell the brief story of you finding this place, right? Because I think that's serendipitous. Serendipitous beauty, if you can put it that way.
Everything like came in line and like lined up, but we really didn't realize it, I guess, till like about 2 years ago or a year ago.
Yeah, about a year ago.
So the pallet house fire happened, thought it was the end of the year, end of everything, end of our business and all. And then we decided to throw the festival to thank everybody in the community for coming together and like picking us up. And then while we were planning that, we were going around to town bringing flyers to people and everything, and we walked by this place. And it's been here my whole life. It's been here since the 50s. But it's always been the same company, same business in here. And we both peeked in the windows and we were like, if we were to ever move the business into town, this is really the only place we could do it because we're loud and it's on a side street and the people next to it is a brewery, so they really wouldn't care. And it already has a storefront in it. So what was it? That night, my dad talked to...
Yeah, we chatted with her dad that night about it. And we were like, wow, that would be perfect. But those people have been there for 50-something years.
Yeah.
And so he went to a restaurant that night and chatted it up with the bartender. Turns out she owns that bar with the owner of this building. And within like a 48-hour span of us telling him like about it, we found out that the people that were here for 53 years were moving out.
73 years.
73 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They were here
Moving
for
out.
73 years. They built the building in 1950.
Wow.
And they were moving out in 2 weeks, and it was going to be up for rent. And we were like, what? Like, well, like that was like a 5-year plan, you know, like not now sort of thing. So we ended up coming in, checking it out. It was completely just destroyed in shambles.
So gross in here.
Yeah. There was leaks in the roof. There was no front windows on the store. There was all kinds of stuff wrong. And we just put in a ton of time, lots of overnighters, and ended up doing it.
So here's the two questions I have. You know, you obviously had a lot of work to do. What was the first thing that you needed to do when you moved in? So that's the first thing.
In order to move in,
I mean, you start getting everything set up. What was, you know, you got the place rented. What was the first thing did you have to repair the roof? Did you have to do the walls?
So thankfully, the Lord was in charge of. They redid the roof, and the first thing we really did was get a dumpster and just throw so much shit, like stacks of paper. This was a garage door company, so there's like all these random like square bolts and all this stuff that we're like, we have no use for this.
Yeah,
like,
bolts from the 50s,
Yeah.
like square-headed bolts and nuts and stuff like that.
I'm finding pamphlets from the 60s and like all this extra like paper filing cabinets filled with documents, and I'm like, what are we gonna do with this?
Yeah, I would say that the very first thing we really did though was just take a hammer to like all the walls. There was walls built in here to store garage door parts.
Right.
So kind of just like shells of walls.
Perfect.
And so we knocked all those out, and then her and I pretty much looked at each other and had an epiphany, and we're like, we can't really afford the rent unless we're like bringing in money. So how can we bring in money without doing custom orders right now while we're working on it? So we were like, let's focus all of our efforts and all of our time on the store. So we didn't even touch the wood shop really for the first like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And we gutted the entire store. It's like 900 square feet, I think, is the store. So we gutted that, ripped a bunch of walls out, ripped the drop ceiling out that was actually installed with 2x4s, and put a new floor in, got the new window.
Yeah.
And
so we probably did that.
That was definitely the first thing we did.
Yeah. It's probably took us around 3 months to do the storefront, 3 or 4 months. And then we were kind of working on the back. And then once the storefront was up and running and things were going, we set a date. We moved all of our tools here because it was really hard to have the storefront and be open and then produce product for the storefront when all of our tools are 10 minutes away in a different shop.
Well,
so we were wasting time and stuff like that.
So that makes a lot of sense. So like, and I think that's huge because a lot of people, you know, obviously you have to make money. And that's one of the things I personally have thought about. I'm like, well, if I'm working at this place and I'm doing this, how am I going to do both? And I'm glad to hear that was the, you know, that was the first thing you did. And it seems to have worked out because I know Sean wanted to know who the hipsters were. Sean, these are the pair with the hair. Your hair is nice, but theirs is better. It's, you know, it's nice to see how much work you put into that. I watch it all on Instagram. You know, I talk to you guys during it, and it's really amazing to see what you set up. And I love the whole arch. I like the arch. I don't know. But so here's the next thing I want to know. I told you before, like I'm really thinking about the workshop. You get your tools, like, and I can imagine how hard it was working. Oh, son of a bitch! I wish I'd have brought just that one piece over with me.
So many times it was like, oh, I actually just forgot the driver that I need, or I forgot the Sawzall, or I forgot, and it's like back and forth, back and forth.
Go get it.
It's like going to Home Depot.
We were still working on custom orders because we were like, that was the brunt of our money. I mean, it still is, you know, custom orders. It's what we all do. And if we're not doing custom orders, we're creating our own art that we're trying to sell. So we were still doing that just at a slower pace. But we were able to suffice a lot with we have lasers and CNCs and stuff like that. So those are like simple things that you could batch out,
Right.
you know, whether you're doing chains and releasing them or ornaments or something like that. That's always ways to make easy money to where you can be able to afford the new spot.
So here's comes to that second part that I'm really curious about, and then I'm want to see what your thoughts were. Whenever you got in there, you're like, all right, now I'm going to focus on the wood shop, right? What was the first thing that you said, I need to do this in this wood shop? Because we all have things that we want to change, right? And you came in and you're able to set it up exactly how you want it, right?
Yeah.
So so my things are, what was the first thing you're like, I really want to have this, and how did you make everything so that you were efficient?
There's like a couple things. Like,
Well, I mean, the first thing I did was I was like, we're painting the walls. Before we get anything in here, we're painting the walls because we're going to be pissed if we don't. The walls were disgusting.
Yeah.
They're 14 feet high.
There wasn't much in here at the time, so we pushed everything to the center. And we didn't paint the walls. Carlina paints.
All the walls. Yeah, Carlina's my painter.
All of our block 15-foot walls,
Yeah.
Carlina painted.
She did it.
Sounds like my house. I hate painting.
Yeah.
Painting is the worst thing ever to me.
She doesn't.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, she
if
doesn't.
I put music on really loud, I can get through it.
I hate it.
But it definitely changed in here once that happened.
See, Pat and I are a lot alike, though. We have that ADHD brain, and the problem is that while you're focused on this, there are 6 other things you can be doing. But the worst part to me, what kills me, is I get done painting and I turn around and clean up the brush, and I come back, I'm like, oh, look, there's a line that I missed, and there's a spot there, and I can't, it kills me.
Carlina doesn't have that.
No.
She doesn't have that.
All right, so you painted the walls. Sean said something. I was trying to figure out what Sean said. Should have done mosaic walls.
Oh.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, it's a big wall.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
A lot of big walls.
To do that in the shop or in the storefront. So, all right, so you painted the walls. I want to know, for woodworking, for the making of stuff, right? What's the one thing that you said, I need to have this in the shop?
Proper dust collection.
Yeah, honestly.
We had PVC dust collection at the old shop, but not everything was hooked up correctly, and it was kind of rigged. In here, we put money aside to get
all spiral pipe.
All spiral pipe.
8-inch to 6-inch. It's a large shop, so we saved up for it, and it was a lot of designing, because you, as people that have set up dust collection systems that go to each tool, you have to out where all your tools are going first if they're not already there.
What makes sense in this layout for us?
So that then leads into that second part of the question. How did you set the shop up so that you were the most efficient you could be in the shop? Because you had to figure that out and then do the dust collection to that.
That was many drawings and mock-ups of that. Probably like
it honestly, in reality, her and I have what we call our chop saw walls, our miter saw stations. So like, she has her own and I have my own, because she doesn't like the dual bevel and everything. She likes chopping mosaic pieces on I think you have a 10-inch. Yeah. And I need a slider. I need to be able to make big cuts, so I have a 12-inch. So we have separate stations. And so I kind of was just like, where do you want your chop saw wall? And that was the first thing. We kind of based the entire layout off of where she wanted her chop saw wall. So I forgot that we're on a phone, so I could actually move this around. So this is her chop saw station.
Okay.
Here, we actually just picked this up out of the old shop and brought it over here. Eventually, we'll get to redo it. Her chop saw's behind this sign, but
she's got a little dust collector over top of it.
Yeah, so that goes up into the 8-inch and over to our Laguna.
Nice. That's a great setup.
Yeah, and then it comes over and drops in, goes through our spray room, and then pops out to where that's going to be my chop saw station. Right now it's kind of just whatever I put over there. But yeah, so we have it running. I mean, you could see it running. So I'll back to like the base of it. That 8-inch runs the distance of that wall and then Y's off with 6-inchers, which then come over here down this wall and over to our table saw. So it's a far span, but it sucks.
And that's just the one Laguna?
Yeah, it's a P Flux 3, and
Okay.
it's a lot. I mean, as long as you have blast gates. If you don't have blast gates, it would never keep enough CFMs, but
yeah, it works great. Like if we're using it, we can probably keep around 2 to 3 blast gates open at a time.
Yeah.
And it works great. If you have more open, you don't, like, you notice it doesn't suck as well.
Yeah. Well, that's impressive. So not to harp on this, now that you've been there for a while, is there anything that you would have changed?
Well, keeping on the dust collection thing, I wouldn't. So originally, I was going to put the joiner and the planer in line in the middle right here, and you could see there's actually blast gates up there. Then I realized I don't want them there because that wouldn't make any sense. So I ended up putting them around this post, which keeps them out of the way, and I had to create this little doohickey here. But that was like the number one thing. Like as we were doing the dust collection, we were like, why didn't I think of this sooner?
Yeah.
And you're going to be changing it as you go. Like there's still things where I'm like, I kind of wish I moved this over here. I kind of wish I did this, but everything's kind of set up almost perfect. I just need a chop saw now.
Just need to clear the space.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think, if anybody out there is thinking about setting up their shop or looking at stuff, I think it's an important part to, I mean, listen, I got terrible dust collection in here, and I have it on a, the wheeled one where I'm constantly moving it around. And I've been thinking about that. So it's a good thing to really get into and really start thinking deeply about. Yeah. Morgan wants to know how many square feet you got in there.
I think it's around 2,400 square feet if you include the finishing room, which is really just a giant closet right now for all of the extra stuff because we haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah, that's our next project.
You're going to do spray. I got a little bug that keeps flying right in my face. It's annoying. You have the spray setup you're going to do in there?
Yeah. So it's like its own. I'll show you.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain this because, like we said, it was a garage door company, so they use it as a finishing room as well. So this is a giant garage door in here.
Cool. That's
with
cool.
a door built into the garage door, so
we knew we had to keep that.
Just open it up when we want, or lift it up and push the pieces in there.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So right now it's just like storage for everything.
Yeah.
But eventually, we're doing epoxy floors. We're going to paint the walls, build it out, store all my spray paint, all of our Total Boat products and stuff. But
so, you know what? Going with that, I want to shift gears. I want to talk about the fest in a minute. But Carlina, I'm really I'm really interested in all the mosaics. I've never done one. They look like so much fun. And with your what I know about the background for everybody who's there, I'm going to give the brief rundown. You're a D1 player playing field hockey. By the way, I was an athletic trainer when I was in college, and my two favorite teams to work with were the field hockey team and the wrestlers. Always a blast hanging out with both of them. So I have huge respect for field hockey players because I've seen what they can do. But you go from doing that to hooking up with this schlub, selling his stuff on Facebook. How do you go then to randomly starting doing mosaics?
So we started dating my junior year. So I would come home on the weekend when you were laid off at that time because they would get laid off in the winter. So I'd come home on the weekends and just like mess around, and that's when he started building stuff. And he had all of these like cut-offs from the pallet wood that I was just like cutting and making random things with it. I was on Pinterest and I saw all the mountain mosaics. And that's when I got into it. And I made my first mountain mosaic, I guess, April or May for my best friend. She was graduating college. So I made it as a gift to her because she's a big hiker. And that was the first one I ever made. And she still has it, and it's absolutely horrible. But that was kind of the start of it, and I loved it. And then I got into the actual mosaics, not just the mountain ones. And it kind of took off from there. And that, I guess it was March-ish area. That was the first time I actually touched a saw.
Oh, wow.
Like, never used power tools in my entire life. My dad like does stuff, but he's in the medical field. My mom's in the medical field. My whole family's farmers. Like, I worked on a farm when I wasn't in college or playing field hockey, and that's really it. So he taught me a lot about tools, and then most of it, other stuff I learned by myself or on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's neat. So did you start the way you God, this little gnat. Sorry. I smell good. It's the Chipotle. Did you start selling them on Facebook the way that you sold his stuff?
I did for a little bit, but none of it sold on Facebook.
Yeah, I feel like hers was more word of mouth. Like,
Yeah.
once people saw a couple things that we posted, they were like, "Oh, can you make this? Oh, can you make that?"
Yeah.
And
then COVID hit, I guess, a couple months later or a yearly.
I think it was a year later.
A year later, and then like my art took off. It was crazy.
Yeah, everyone had that free
That
money.
COVID money, and
and they wanted to decorate their house, which we thought, when COVID happened, I really thought we were going to tank, but it was the opposite. Everyone wanted a new deck. Everyone wanted furniture. Everyone wanted, so it kind of helped
signs, yeah,
creators.
Well, and it's also the people were watching and going, "Oh, I want to learn how to do that." You know, that's what I found out. Tiff said, "Hi, hey, Pineys." So that's when my page started growing, was when I started posting more educational, and people were coming on during that time. So I just think it's so interesting. Like, I love watching those. And do you plan out, or are you more of the, I'm going to put this piece here, oh, and now I got to put it on the opposite side?
I planned out a few when they're like custom ones, specific. Like, there's one that I did for a distillery that had certain colors and things like that. I planned out, but for the most part, I kind of just see something in my head, or I'll pull from other ones that I've made in the past and like, oh, let me try to mix these two together. And then it's like, let me cut it. Don't like it. Let me try it here, kind of thing.
So
do a bit of both, but more just like in the moment kind of thing. If I put my headphones on, I can just zone out and like create a piece in a day.
So, and that's, to me, it's just amazing looking at those. I've done like a couple on a tabletop, but it was just, I'm just going to put pieces in and make that very basic pattern.
Yeah.
All right.
Fun.
We have the one question right now. It's, I don't, what's y'all's rough yearly revenue, if you're comfortable sharing rough? I mean, actually, let's do this. I don't want to ask that type of question, because I don't think that's very fair. But now you have your shop, right? How much does it cost to rent that space?
So the space, it's like $2,700 a month.
Yeah. And then like utilities.
And then utilities. It's pretty rough. Like, we, I don't know. We're paying the bills.
Well, obviously. So my question is, and I think going along with that is, with that money, you're selling all the small stuff that you guys purchased yourself, which I think, again, we talked about that at one point too. I think that's a great way to do it. You buy the stuff, you don't have to worry about taxes. You don't have to worry about the other part of it, right? So you have that. Which is selling better for you? I know besides the plants, you have some of the small stuff, right? You've got your 3D printers. What's the stuff that's selling for you? Where is, I don't want to say where's the money coming from, but you know what I mean.
The money's coming from every different business and every direction that we've taken. So I can't really pinpoint it, but I can tell you that in the store, in person, at festivals, at markets, smaller items sell so much better.
Yeah.
You could have 500 small items and sell 200 of them, or you can have 3 large items and sell none of them. So when it's in person, small items sell so much better.
Yeah. During holidays, it's a little bit different because you get those big buyers.
Yeah.
But we've been here for a year now, and I've noticed a lot of like small to medium things sell more.
Yeah.
Like, back to that like question, like affording, like, can we afford, or like how much is everything in here? Like, looking at our bills monthly, you want to throw up.
No.
And I never would have thought we could afford them, but we can pay our bills. Like, that's what the cool thing about, like, yes, like maybe we're still like breaking even on things.
Yeah, we make more now, but we spend more.
Yeah, so that's like, so like we're still eating Taco Bell because that's what we can afford. But it's like now we have access to so many different things having this storefront. I don't regret any of it. Like a lot of people in town are coming to us now for their signs or for tables for their restaurants and stuff like that. So like the opportunity is like incredible now.
Well, I've seen you making a bunch of those, and they're beautiful. I was telling a friend of mine, I have a guy that I knew here where I live, Rochester. He opened his own brick and mortar store, and it was a big thing. You know, he had a grand opening. We all went, and I think his did not last, and I know why his didn't last versus the difference that you guys have that I think is great. His shop was not there. He was just in the shop trying to sell, and you can't do both. And I know that you guys have in the shop there. I know that you're able to work in the back and come out when people come in.
Yeah. We are not the type to sit still people. And like when the shop wasn't here, I was ripping my hair out. I was like, I need to figure out things to do. So now like with the shop, we have like an alarm. So when the door opens, bells go off.
Yeah, so if it's a slow day, we could still work in the shop all day and it doesn't really hinder us. We don't have to like sit there and just sit behind the desk and wait for people to walk in.
Do you have days that are more busy than others? Like in a week, you might say, okay, Tuesday has been my busiest day. I'm just curious.
I'd say weekend.
I would say weekend. So we're connected to a brewery.
Yeah.
Which is kind of hit or miss. I mean, a lot of people with a buzz on will come in and window shop, but then and then all of a sudden you'll have one person come in and drop $400 on a cutting board. So it's like, it's definitely hit or miss. But our busiest days, I would say, is probably Saturday.
Yeah.
And it all depends on the weather too, because we're 30 minutes to the city, 30 minutes to the beach. And if the weather's really nice, nobody's in town. They're all at the beach. So spring and fall are great for us. Obviously, holiday is amazing for us.
Mm-hmm. Summer is probably our slowest because everybody loves down to the shore. Yeah.
So before I go on talking about the, because I want to move into the fest, because I think that that's crazy too. Boney Board Woodshop said, what is one tool you bought that you regret?
Oh, that's a big one.
Oh, that is a good one.
I look around. It's collecting dust.
Yeah. One tool I bought that I regret.
I mean, I know I have a couple that I just, you just look at it, you're like, I don't really use that. Even if it's little ones.
I mean, I don't regret really any. I do a lot of research. I kind of weigh the options before I make a purchase. A lot of our money does go back into tools, back into our business. I would say, honestly, the drum sander for us. Yeah, I barely use the drum sander. And I was batching out charcuterie boards regular, and the drum sander,
we use it here and there.
I use it here when I need it. I'm so thankful I have it, but I probably only use it like 8 to 10.
Yeah. You have the big planers, so that's probably easier for, I mean, that big, that heavy duty one can do the end grain cutting boards easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild because in my head when I bought it, I was like, this is a no-brainer. I'm going to use it all the time. And then I barely use it.
I love having it, like, and I did a reel a while back, and it's actually still hitting on YouTube Shorts about, asking people if they thought the drum sander was a game changer. And personally, if you're doing production where that's going to be helpful, it might be a time saver, but it's not a game changer.
I'll tell you, right when we bought it, we got a custom order for 150 receipt trays.
Yeah, that'd be,
And right there, I was like, this is
like, thank God we have
if I didn't have this, I couldn't even do this order. Like, there's no way. And it knocked it out so quick. It was so nice.
You can't use it for like end grain cutting boards because for me, it takes forever.
Yeah.
Sean wants to know, and this is really important. He wants to know if he can commission a white oak trash mosaic.
That would be hilarious.
Absolutely. Anything for you,
Should
Sean.
we burn it?
Yes. Oh my God, that'd be hilarious. Can you do a tutorial on mosaics? I want to start making them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that would be fun.
So we've actually done classes on mosaics.
Yeah.
We've done 3 now? 2?
Yeah. So I want to do more in the store too. So I'll do a class and like teach you and stuff, but you can only reach so far with that. So I think we're trying to get into YouTube. So that would be a good YouTube like video, I think, to start with.
Yeah, I think so. I would love to see it.
Yeah.
I love the idea of doing the classes there, because I think that that's like that break even thing where you can get them in and you can have the space.
Yeah.
I've done it in school, and people that I work with love it.
Yeah.
We've actually been but we've been bringing in artists from either our festival or artists that we carry in the, and they come in and teach the class, and we take a percentage of it.
Yeah.
And pretty much rent them our space and help them promote the class to sell it out.
Do you have to worry about insurance?
Not for that. So the one we have
those
insurance.
Classes don't use power tools or anything.
Right.
So like it'll be like
a macrame class.
Macrame class. We've done like a paint a pot class where you could come in. Somebody will show you like kind of like those sip and paint nights that people do.
Yeah, we have a
they're fun.
Up for October.
Yeah, and we already have overhead insurance for the storefront itself. So technically nobody's allowed into the wood shop, although it's always wide open. The doors are wide open. But
yeah, it depends if Pete's around. I know he's in there. So I want to, like I said, I want to talk about this because this to me is one of the most crazy things. You guys, the house burned down, and you said, let's take the money and we're going to throw the Pine Barren Pallet Fest.
So we were in festivals all the time. We were in markets and stuff like that. We were always like, we could do this better. Like these people didn't even promote this. Like 100 people showed up.
Or some that we're at and we're like, oh my God, we absolutely love what they did here and we love what they did there, but this area they could like work on.
Yeah. So we kind of
typical artists just critiquing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in my head, like we were like, in like 10 years, like maybe we'll start throwing events like that. And then the fire happened and everyone donated to rebuild and the town wouldn't let us rebuild. They shut it down. They actually were in the process of letting us rebuild. That's why we bought the shipping container. Mm-hmm. But then a bunch of stuff happened internally in the town. People resigned. People got voted out. And then the new mayor was like, get rid of it. You have like a certain amount of time to get rid of it. Otherwise, we're fining you. So we got rid of it, but we had all this money. And we were like, we can't keep this money. Like, what do we do? And we talked about it. And we were like, how can we like give back to the community with the money? So that's how the Pine Barren Makers Fest kind of became.
Yeah, at the time, I think it was that year, about a year before them, that's when we started talking about it and collecting. Like, we'd go around to all the festivals we were in, and we'd take
First
business
3 years, we were taking all the business
taking
cards.
business cards from artists that we loved their aesthetic, what they did. So we had this giant folder of just business cards of artists that we loved. And that was when he was like, I think it's time. So, like, that 5-year thing, we're going to do a festival, maybe 5 years, turned into like, we're doing it now. Yeah. Start reaching out to people.
We're doing it in 8 months. Let's do it.
That's crazy. I never thought, like, listen, I collect business cards, but most of them go into a trash can.
Yeah. These ones I still have them. I have the folder upstairs.
We had, there was purpose behind collecting them. And that's kind of like how we do our event as well, as we jury the whole event because we don't want it to be a flea market.
Right.
You know?
And we also don't want it, like, there's so many amazing artists, but we can't accept them all. I wouldn't want there to be 20 jewelry artists and then you don't sell your stuff because the person next to you is selling your stuff. Like, everything is so like purposeful, like he said, even when it comes down to setting you up with your booth. Like, I will never put you next to, across to, or 2 tents down to another woodworker. I make sure that you're buffered enough so that you have enough time. You're not like directly across.
Yeah, you're not competing.
Because we would go to events and I'm like, to the left of me, right of me is another woodworker.
Right.
And
what is this?
Yeah, and not even like a drastically different woodworker. They were doing identical stuff to us. And this defeats the whole purpose of having us here.
Right. And then they look and they're like, why over in that booth it's $60? Why is it $100 here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, first of all, personal curiosity here, are there other festivals in your area?
Yeah, there's a lot around
there. Are. Within like a 30-minute radius, there's probably like 10 different ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so did you pick the time that you're doing yours based on when the other ones are?
Yeah, so we made sure.
Did I freeze again? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Oh, there you go. I can hear you now. Yeah.
I don't know what just happened. Yeah. So, sorry. What was the question one more time?
Did you about picking the time, the date that you did it based on the other one?
Yeah. We had like a spreadsheet where it was like local areas, let's say like Pittman, Haddonfield, Ocean City, this and that, and we listed their events and their dates and to figure out like, okay, what weekend is less likely to have an event on it. Because for the first year, like it was
no matter what, you were going to overlap with another event. There's an event and but
especially in the fall.
We kind of decided which ones we didn't want to compete with. And then the first year was kind of hard to find vendors. We still were able to get, I think, 60 vendors on the first day and 40 vendors on the second day. But it was really hard. It's the first year. Nobody's
final, like they have to trust you and whatnot.
They're not sure if people are going to show up. So we took a lot of our personal money and we put it into marketing the event. And I think that's something that most people don't do that well. Marketing the event is like the number one thing I think you have to do. And I feel like most people just create a Facebook event page and then every once in a while post that. And that's about as far as it gets. Whereas like we dropped thousands of dollars into marketing and it showed. The first year we had almost 10,000 people attend the event over the 2 days.
Crazy. That's just crazy.
Because like we looked at it as vendors ourselves. If we're not happy,
right,
it's gonna flop. So our main priority is our vendors and then everything else after that. So as long as they're happy, we're gonna have a successful event because they're gonna talk to the attendees, they're gonna sell more stuff. Like it all kind of follows each other.
Yeah, we were looking at the longevity of it rather than just like, let's see how great we can make this one.
Right.
You could that's great, but if nobody shows up, then it's done.
Yeah, like the first year we both kind of agreed, like, okay, the vendors are our priorities, and we're like grateful that they're trusting us for this first year event. We made goodie bags for every single vendor, and we do that every year now. So we're like, we thank them, we go to every single tent together as the event owners, and we talk to them, we give them a goodie bag. Pine Barren Palletworks makes them something, and we put some stuff in it. Because, like, I don't know, it just shows that we care. And
we couldn't do it without them.
Yeah. You guys are so cute. That's awesome. I mean, really, because it says so much. You know, there's a couple ones that I've been here. And I've been in the juried ones. I've been in the other ones, you know, the little tiny ones. There's one here, it's called the Purple Painted Lady. And this woman, it's a very similar story. She started her own store. She built up the store more. She built her own festival. It's actually on her land. They have a farm. It's super cool. And they do similar stuff. And, you know, I just love it. I think it's a good way to not only show everyone that you care about them, but they're getting their family to come in and they're telling other family because they know how much they're appreciated.
Yeah.
And I will say one more thing, that it is huge. Having those yard signs, like having all that stuff, it's great.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, you're on your way to work every day and it's in your face. You're going to see it. You're going to remember to go that weekend. I was like, I know we might be going in the month of September, but
it's worth it.
It reminds people.
So I know you're going to have a beer garden this year, right? What's that?
We've been fighting for it for 3 years.
Yeah, we finally got approved.
I'm just coming for the beer.
Yeah.
If it was not 6 hours from me and the weekend it is, you know, it's hard for me. I would 100% be there. I wish I could, you know, just to come in and see it. So what else, what are you really looking forward to this year? What is your goal? How's that? That's a better question. I like to say, what is your real big goal for this year?
So other than just making everyone happy, like it's amazing to see all the smiles that day, walking around. Just that was always the goal, to bring the community together. But this year, that's still the goal. But this year, we're, other than the beer garden, it's just the aesthetic, the overall aesthetic. I want larger than life things there that you want to take photos of. You know, like I want you to feel like you're walking into a different space when you walk into the beer garden. You know, so like I'm all about aesthetics and like that wow factor when you walk into a place. And that kind of shows with our store and stuff like that. And so we're really pushing the envelope with aesthetics this year. We have a couple new things we're building. We always do like photo ops where like we have our hashtag on the piece itself, and you can take a photo in front of it
kind of
and use the hashtag, and you might get reposted and stuff like that. And just picturesque stuff. So
I need to be more like you. I need to focus on the aesthetics. Like I think about myself and my space, and as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about your shop with the big wood shop sign and the way you have stuff. But it's great because that guy has a great mustache. They're not talking about me. Sorry, I got distracted in my own head there. My shop. I'm like, I don't care, you know, and
I'm the opposite. I can't work in an environment that's cluttered or looks bad.
Everything needs a place for Patrick.
Yeah,
and I appreciate it because it's made me a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
It was many arguments at the beginning of the business because we only had one set of tools per two people, and I'd be like, where is my drill? Like it goes there. Where is it? So then we learned
it's definitely paid off though, like when it came to the shop and the festival, because he has this brain that just doesn't shut off, and I have this problem where I don't know how to say no, so we just end up figuring it out.
Well, I know you guys absolutely complement each other, and you know it's always fun too at Maker Camp. It's funny because I can see the two of you like in different places talking to different people, but I still see the two of you look over and you're like, okay, we're touching base and like getting my people, and you guys like it's great watching the two of you work together and talk to each other, and I love you guys. But you know, and so I worked in my shop when my business at the beginning of this year, when I started selling all my jigs, my wife had to come in and try and help me, and she was working stuff, and it's definitely hard to work side by side with your partner. And Carlina, my wife, does the books, so there's at least 2 days where she says to me, get away from me, I hate you, why did you do this? So I can't imagine you doing it for that store.
Yeah
between
the store, so there's technically doing the book sucks, man.
Carlina's the one that doesn't want to purchase, and I'm the one that has to tell her why the purchase makes sense.
Yeah.
And I've done that with every tool we have, everything we put in the store.
Well, you never regret spending the money in the end, which is like something I've learned. Because at first it's like, okay, why do we need that, Patrick? Why do we need this one, Patrick? Why can't we just get this brand, Patrick? And like having them now makes sense. Like time is money, and
we save a lot of time now.
Yeah.
You know, and the one thing I've learned from my wife is that it makes more sense to buy the good one than it does to buy the cheap one.
Yeah.
Because that's
us, because Harbor Freight just went up right next to us.
All right. I mean, let's be fair. Listen, Harbor Freight, there's stuff that I'll buy from there because I know that if I break it and, you know, whatever.
I was there yesterday. I bought 1,000 zip ties, and I was like, it only cost me $20.
Dude, I love those zip ties. I love those. I have them all the time. All right, so you guys have your fingers in a ton of pies, right? Nick's here. And Evan said hi, by the way. Hi, Evan. I don't know if you're still there. You guys have got your fingers in a lot of pies. You've done a lot of things. If you were to write a book, right? And I hate to put this in your mind because I knew as soon as I said it, it was going to be an issue. And I don't want you to get it there, okay? But if you were to write a book, what would you write it about with everything that you've gone through, all these different businesses?
What do you think?
I don't know. It would be, I mean, if I personally was to write a book about everything we've gone through, it would be to like overlook, or not overlook, but when things happen that are bad, don't look at that as the end of the road. Don't look at that as the worst thing that's ever happened to you, because it might just be a blessing in disguise. Like we were talking about with the fire, I mean, she looked at me and we were standing in front of the building that we just built, burning to the ground. And she was like, this is it. Like, this is the end. What are we going to do? And yeah, I looked at her and was like, it's going to get better. Like, this is just the beginning.
This is just the beginning. And like, I could not figure that out. Like, I was like, how? Like, this, at that point, that was our baby. Like, we just spent months building this with his dad and our friends. And I'm like, how does this get any better than this? And then my sister sent me a quote, which I'm going to mess it up, but it was about a phoenix and like the rebirth of everything. And that's where the Phoenix series started, when we had all of the wood from the fire. And since then, like, it's just been uphill.
Yeah, you're always going to have setbacks,
like
but that's exactly what they are. Just setbacks. You just keep going.
Without that, it really is crazy to me still. Like, without that fire, we would not be here today in this building.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that, because this is something I always talk about, and I think is really huge, is that in everything that you know, every failure you have gives you the opportunity for a success.
Yeah.
And last week I had Leah Ho-tailing. I keep saying her name wrong, and she was doing the same. She said the same thing. You know, I truly believe that, and I love to hear that. So my daughter, I got to tell this story. My daughter was probably, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. She's laying in her bed. Something went wrong. She's like, I can't do this. I said, you know what, honey? Here's what we're going to do. Just quit. All right? Don't do it. It doesn't work. It's a terrible thing to do. Just give up. She goes, Dad, that's terrible advice. I said, I know. So quit whining about it and just do it.
Yeah.
And you know, there's something good that always happens. You just have to make it there.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, people give up every day. I mean, and it's something you just have to, you got to make the choice to not give up.
Yeah.
Like, I could have had the same mentality that she had standing right next to me, and that could have been the last time we built anything, and we could have just got jobs and started our normal lives. Like, we wouldn't have any of this.
Nope. JP O'Brien photo. If that's my John O'Brien, quit giving up. You got more years of teaching. So where, with everything that you've done, everywhere that you are, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, because your 5-year plan is now.
Yeah, I know.
What's the new 5-year plan?
I mean, if you ask me.
Yeah, let's hear Patrick.
I mean, nobody wants to hear what I have to say. If you ask me, I want to personally pick this whole thing up and set it in San Diego. I lived out there for 6 years. It's a beautiful place, nice weather year round, tourists year round that buy things. And with an online presence, you already have the opportunity to sell across the country, so that it's not like you're taking away from where you are now.
But what about the festival?
We're completely seasonal here right now when it comes to the store and certain custom orders. As for the festival, I would probably still just run it, and we would come back to do the festival every year. Mm-hmm. I don't think you'd be able to, I mean, I know that you can do anything and start another one out there, but I like what we built here. I love that aspect of the Pine Barrens and shedding light on the Pine Barrens. A lot of people now know what the Pine Barrens are because of our name and because we've been kind of pushing it since day one. Pineys is actually a derogatory term that people gave to people that lived in the Pine Barrens because they were of lower IQ back in the day. They were
lived off the land, essentially.
Lived off the land, yeah, essentially. And I took that and was like, everyone's a piney. Like, I just called everyone pineys, and now it's become a thing. We have people that walk into our our store and call us the Pines, and I love it.
I like that. You're taking back the negatives, and that's what it, everything is about, right?
Yeah.
Making it yours. So my buddy Brent said San Diego is beautiful. I was stationed out there. That's where I went to boot camp. So I will tell you that San Diego is beautiful. Two important things. Number one, if you're in boot camp and they tell you to wear your uniform buttoned all the way up, put on a wool cap, tuck your pant legs into your boots and your socks, and go into a barracks and make the walls sweat, it's not very nice.
Yeah, I bet.
And when I was stationed there for my hospital corpsman school, what I found out, I stayed up all night. It was going to be such a wonderful time. I decided I was going to go watch the sunrise over the ocean. And I went out to the beach and I sat there. And as it got light behind me, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
It doesn't come up this way. I was 18 years old.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there. It doesn't have to be San Diego, but I would love to. I love the mountains. I love places where people are. And when it dies in the winter here,
Yeah,
I don't love that.
Yeah.
oh, it's so dark too.
Yeah.
Dark and cold.
So, you guys are going to Maker Camp this year?
We're trying. We want to. We're trying.
What?
Um,
It's a lot. You're running the business and everything.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot with the store now because it's like you can't close, so to figure out somebody to work it.
Yeah, because we run the store. Like, we
Yeah.
work the store.
So if we can figure that out, I want to go though because that's it's so much fun. I love Maker Camp.
I absolutely. I mean, and I've been telling people, it's a great time to meet people. I'm going to work in the restoration station. I'm going to do the Fox Hollow stuff this year.
Nice.
I like going places and I like having a home base. I like being a part of stuff. I don't do so well when I have to just walk around and try to get in and wait. And I prefer to be a part of stuff.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. All right. Let me ask you this. I want to end on two things. The first is there anything you wish I'd asked you about? Like anything you were thinking, I want to talk about this.
No, I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. I like the questions.
Yeah, I think you did really well.
Well, I mean, just, thinking like sometimes there's stuff, I wish I'd have talked about this.
No, I think you did your research.
Oh, I know you guys. I like you guys, and I enjoy talking with you. So I don't really think I'm going to end it. I'm going to end a couple minutes early because there's so many other things, but everything's going to take us long. Next week, do you guys know Handy Dandy Brandy?
Yeah, we
Yes.
love Brandy.
So next week is going to be Handy Dandy Brandy because I want to talk to her. Rosie's going to be there. I want to talk to her about the same type of thing because she's moved into that large space.
Yeah.
And I really think the idea of how you build out that space, it's such a complex thought that we don't really, it's so easy to be like, I'm just going to move into the space.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
so much behind the
she
scenes.
grilled us with questions before she was moving, like as she was getting ready to move. And so I was chatting with her a lot about it before that, which I think was right after Workbench. I think it was right after
Yeah, I
Workbench
think so.
Con because she didn't move yet. But yeah, her space is amazing. And she's smart. Like she got somebody to kind of split it with her, and she's built walls that aren't permanent out of racks that she can use, like stuff that I didn't think about when we were moving in. I was more of a build it permanently sort of guy. And those, I mean, I love that idea of like having a wall that you could move and change the whole layout just with one wall.
Yeah. Like, and that works everywhere. To go to the smaller shop way, one of my friends on Instagram, he's in a basement. He's got a water heater. He made a temporary wall to cover the water heater, and he put French cleats on it.
Yeah.
So he has that there. He can move it out of the way. I think the temporary stuff is the way to go, but you still have that whole space, and you still have the opportunity to climb way up high and paint the ceiling. Oh no, that's Carlina that's going to do that again.
Please
Yeah,
no.
I mean, there were certain things in here though that were already permanent, like the finishing room. We were like, there's a wall separating that whole thing with a garage door. So I was kind of like, leave it. That's our finishing room. No dust in there.
That's so
and
cool.
then in the middle of the whole shop, and we were like, let's just make that the office. Like, there's already steps going up to it. Let's wall it off and temperature regulate it, and that'll be like our escape in the middle of our shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so I personally wanted to make it look like a tree house. Carlina talked me out of it. So now we just have a box in the middle of the room.
We'll add
I
stuff.
like the treehouse. I like the treehouse.
Right?
I'm gonna bring some wood from here. I'm gonna chop down a tree and bring it.
There you go.
When is the festival? It's this weekend or next weekend?
2 weeks.
2 weekends, September 21st and 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Hamilton, right?
Yep.
All right. And you guys said you're 30 minutes from the city and 30 minutes from the beach, and
Yep, we're 30 minutes from Atlantic City, which I don't consider, that's the beach.
Yeah.
And then we're 30 minutes from Philadelphia, right smack
all right.
in the middle. And there's an exit right off the expressway.
So
Right now.
it's everything everyone needs to know.
Yep. All the good things.
All the good things. Well, first of all, again, I really wish I could be there. With it being 6 hours, it's difficult. If that Boney Board said if it wasn't his wife's festival, he would go. Sean also said boo Carlina for not letting us put up the treehouse. I truly hope I get to see you guys at Maker Camp.
I think we'll get yelled at by a lot of people if we don't go. So
Yeah.
You're probably gonna
Our friends will bully us into going.
Well, you can close the shop on Saturday and come up just Saturday night and stay Sunday.
There's no way.
No, you got to go Thursday to Sunday. No other way.
Yeah. The first year I went on just Sunday. I took my daughter, and I had a good time, but it was not as much fun because everybody, and I said this last week, everyone was sort of doing their own thing and trying to go into the tents, and they couldn't follow the schedule because then we also had the barbecue.
Yeah.
So the second year I came and slept in my car during the rainstorm.
That's the way to do it. Did you get sick that year?
No.
Okay. Because when you met me, like when we finally met in person, I was just coming down with the flu.
That's right. I remember that.
I didn't know it till like 2 hours later. I thought I had allergies real bad, and it just got worse and worse. I had to leave. So
I remember that too. The thing I think what's helped me is when you asked me if I wanted to make out with you, I said no.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, so there was no tongue, so I didn't get the germs.
This year you're saying yes.
Of course. I mean, yeah, it's always going to be the hair for me. I'm just jealous.
The hair and the stash, man.
Whew. All right, you guys, good luck. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
And we'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.